What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another action figure review, and today we have something very special. We're going to be taking a look at something that is very near and dear to my heart, and also my very first S.H.MonsterArts figure. And as you can see, we'll be taking a look at the S.H.MonsterArts Dark Magician. Now, I am a huge Yu-Gi-Oh fan, especially when it comes to the original series, the original anime with Yugi and Kaiba and everybody. And Dark Magician has always been my favorite card in the game. Monster, whatever. I just love the design. It was always cool seeing him as Yugi's ace monster to the point where, and I'll bring this out, I'll show you a little bit of my Dark Magician collection here. You see I have some spaces I need to fill, but yeah, I mean, he's even on the cover of the binder. But yeah, so yeah, I'm a fan. So when I found out about this figure, I had to get it. I had to get it, especially since it's in the purple outfit with that kind of like teal greenish color for the staff. This is my favorite look. And the card that I showed you in the binder, that's my favorite artwork of the character, I guess you could say. So yeah, I had to get this. And I have heard they are doing a Yami Yugi as well, so I'll definitely be getting that for later. And I figured, why not take a look at it and show you guys what it's like. We'll start out. This thing is very big, so take a look at the packaging here. Love this image of, this is reminiscing of his original artwork that we got in the over here in the States in the TCG. See on the side there we got nice product shots. On the other side, yep, same product shot. On the bottom, another product shot. On the top, you see the little window. And on the back, this is very cool. I'm typically used to standard SH figure arts. You know, typically the window of normal SH figure arts are on the front, but I mean, I guess, again, this is my first SH Monster Arts, so I'm not sure if this is how they do it. This is what I'm talking about, kind of like this. You see, whereas this is the front, no window. This is how you display it on the shelf. You got the product shot, the window where you can see everything, then just the product shots on the back. Whereas with this, we get the product shots and the window where you can see the figure on the back, which is it's very interesting. It's different, very cool. I like it. The product shot, like that one looks awesome. I'm so excited for this, and you can see some of the different poses you can get into. He has his little dark magic attack effect, which is his effect. This is his attack in the anime. You can see we got his circle here with the stand. I'm incredibly excited to take a look at this. So I'm gonna stop rambling, get him out of here, so we can take a closer look at him and see how cool he really is. Here he is out of the packaging, and as you can see, I have it set up a little bit differently than I normally do, because just at the size of his little circle here and his base, I just didn't have, trying to get everything in the shot together was very difficult, so I kind of had to improvise a little bit. So we have him here with all of his accessories, figure, we have his little circle behind him, his little magic attack, his staff, and his hands. So, and before you really get into it, you can see these little things here, these little clear bits. If you are getting this figure, or you have any other ones, I'm assuming they may be similar, you can see where these are all ported in. Those are basically like stoppers to kind of make it look more uniform and not, I guess, damage the ports on shipment. But it is cool, but just make sure you take these out, because I almost broke a couple things before I realized that. And use the instructions. The instructions right here, or it's like right here, they do mention, you know, popping those out so you can actually peg the armatures in. So, that out of the way, let's actually get a closer look at the figure, and this guy is awesome. I didn't realize, but because of how the product shots look, and you can't always tell everything by, you know, photo, I didn't realize he was metallic. And you can see, like, the way that light's hitting him, there's a nice shine to it. Let me see if I can get him even closer here. Yeah, like, A lot of the, like the armor, his arms there, his legs, it's all metallic purple, which I think really adds to it. Makes him look really, really high quality, which, I mean, it is a Bandai Tamashii Nations figure, so it should. But let's get a closer look at his face there. Looks really good. Looks how he's supposed to look. I love how the outfit looks. He's got the typical hat. Like I mentioned earlier, the actual purple robe is my favorite. There is kind of like this style here, where he's kind of, hang on. Let me see if I can. There you go, where he's like green, and he has a little bit more of a, this is more purple, but he does like more of a bluish outfit too. This is my preferred look, and I think it looks absolutely awesome. The paintwork looks really good, which on these kind of like lines here, everything looks really good. I love the wrinkles in the robes. And flip around again, looks good too. The only real things that bother me, the one thing is kind of this here. I don't know how well it's going to come across, but it's kind of a darker purple than the rest of it, so it kind of throws me off a little bit, but it's not, it doesn't ruin it for me. I don't hate it. It's just kind of, one of those things. And the other thing is, and again, it's hard. I can't really knock the figure for this. It's how the character's designed. He doesn't stand the best. Like, you really have to fiddle him. But I mean, like, look at how tiny his feet are. But again, that's very accurate. He's very thin. He's very lanky. He's not meant to be like a fighter. He's a magician. He's a sorcerer. He's not really meant for that. So that's kind of one issue of it. And then you can see his hands feel very, very kind of big. And that's kind of how they all are. The ones, when I pull them up closer, you'll see. But that's really, so far, my only gripes. And again, a lot of it you really can't help. It is kind of just the design. See, he's already giving me issues standing. Which, thank goodness, they gave us all of these armatures here. I'm going to try and get him to stand here. There we go. So, taking a closer look at some of his other accessories, you can see he comes with an alternate hair piece. Because there were shots in the show where you would see his hair kind of like flapping underneath his robes. Like here, like you can see this one, it's kind of tucked in. But then if he'll get more in, more action-y poses and he would start like attacking the opponent's monsters and things, you would kind of see his hair kind of pop out a little bit more, which I think is really cool. They didn't have to add that one, but I do appreciate it. I do like it. The sculpt looks really cool. And again, I don't know how well it's going to show up for you guys, but you can kind of see like this front portion here. Let me see. Yeah. Like right here on the front, it's a lot darker. There's some gradient there to it. I don't know how well it's showing up, but it does. It's like very kind of like a dark, almost navy blue, and then it graduates out to that purple, which I think is, again, a really nice touch. I appreciate when they add that little extra bit of detail just to kind of, make the figure pop a little bit. And you're barely even going to see it because it's underneath the little head part, but they still did it anyway, which is very cool. And then speaking of heads, we have two alternate heads. We have his more kind of neutral one he comes with. And then he has... This one's a little bit goofy. Because it's supposed to be like a yelling face. But if you can see the I can't tell if they just didn't paint it or if they didn't sculpt it, but you can see his bottom row of teeth, but you can't see his top row, so it almost looks like he's just kind of like gumming something. It looks a little bit goofy. It's not the worst. I'm sure if you pose it right, you won't even be able to notice it, but that is kind of one thing where that is one issue with the paint apps that I did see so far. So I wish they kind of would have done that a little bit better. And then we kind of have a little smirk, which I do like. Gives a lot of... I love these faceplates on figure arts because they give the figures a little more personality and life. They actually can get doing some fun little things there. And I just like that little smirk, and the printing on the eyes on all of these looks really, really, really good. So Like, so then he comes with a bunch of different sets of hands. We kind of have, starting off, we have these two here, which are very kind of, I guess, like energy blasts kind of hands, which you can use. And again, they do kind of look really big for this figure, but so that is, I guess, one knock against it. Then we have these ones where he's kind of like, it almost looks like he's being like a Jedi and like more like sorcery, like force pushy kind of Star Warsy kind of hands, which is cool. It works. Again, for a character like this, it makes sense to have, you know, hands like these. I almost wish they would give some of the Dragon Ball figures this kind of sculpt. I really dig these ones. I think all of these sets of hands, honestly. And then these two here, I'm assuming, are meant to be to recreate the pose on the box where he's got his hand on his hat, or the actual card art, which is cool because they're more like neutral, more relaxed, which I believe is what they're meant for. You can see typical sculpting. You can kind of see the faint impression of fingernails on all these, and the, you know, bones in his hand. It looks very cool. And then he has, lastly for the hands, we have these two to grip his staff, so he can hold on these C-grip hands, I believe they're called. And you can see again, you know, solid detail. Got the little, the bone impressions of the back, and then you can see the little impressions of fingernails. Looks really good. I think the hands look very, very, very nice. All the standard you kind of, you know, you get with figure, you know, the heads, the hands, you're used to that. And then we kind of get to the big portion of his accessories. And I want to start off with his staff, or scepter, or whatever you want to call it. This looks beautiful. I absolutely love the paint on this. Again, it's also metallic, sculpted very well. Looks exactly like it did in the anime and on all the card art. Got the little kind of like gray rib bits here. I mean, that's more like a kind of a white more than a gray, with a hint of green. And you have the little jewel in there. That is, I guess that is one thing. Maybe it would have been cool if that would have been like translucent or something. But it gets it across. It's pretty cool. That's more of a nitpick though, but it looks very well. And then to put it in his hand, you just, you know, disconnect it there. Is it? Yeah, it's just... Is it? Oh no, it has a little... I hope that'll focus here. You can kind of... Yeah, I don't know if it'll focus well. Maybe on here it'll show you. But it's not completely round. There's actually... Let me see. There's a little bit of a flat piece to it, so you there we go. So you always, so when you line it up, you'll have to make sure, which is nice because this is how it's supposed to look, with this kind of bit facing up on the back, and this way it doesn't, you know, swivel around or move, so you're always going to have that proper uniform look for his staff, however you pose it. So that's pretty cool. I appreciate that a little bit. And then we come to the... Oh, okay. I'm finding out new stuff here. I did not know that did that. We have the Dark Magic Circle, which is pretty much present in all of his artworks. This is kind of like his, you know, his, I guess, like runes or whatever you want to call for his spells and things, and it looks really cool. It looks really nice. You can kind of tell there's a little bit, because there's kind of like this yellow, and then there's some of these like little like more brownish yellow gradients all around it. It looks really nice. It's just those little extra bits that kind of make it pop more and just more visually interesting. I absolutely love it. And as you saw how I had it displayed, it comes with this little adapter piece. Man, these things all just come apart. It comes with this little adapter piece with this little slot in it, so you can literally just, you can do it at the bottom here and have it you know, plug it in. We'll do it this way. Plug it like that. You know, you can have it displayed like that. Or if you want to shrink it down a little bit, you can kind of just go around and do that, which I think is pretty cool. I like that they gave us options for that. The one thing I said, I almost freaked out because when this initially is packaged, there is cellophane around this to, you know, kind of like protect the gloss to it, which this is. I don't know if you guys can see. This is a fingerprint magnet, and that's probably why they had that clear cellophane on it. But when I went to initially plug it into this, it started scratching a little bit, and I got paranoid. Oh my god, I ruined it. Now it's just a little piece of cellophane, which is nice to keep it protected. I do appreciate that. But this looks really good. There's nothing on the back, which is fine. Again, it could have been, I guess would have been nice. Could it have been, you know, maybe transparent, and you would just see it on both sides. Whereas it's really going to look good from the front. But again, small minor nitpick. I do appreciate that they added this. They didn't have to. They really didn't have to add this for this one, and I really genuinely appreciate that the fact that they actually did. So, kudos to Tamashii Nations and Bandai for that one. I genuinely, that's so, I love, I was thinking this is so cool. I'm sorry, my inner child is losing it right now. I absolutely love this. And then, last for, I guess, proper accessories, we have his Dark Magic Attack, which this is translucent. You can see kind of the light hitting it there. A little like purple translucent ball with these blue effects on it. Which again, they could have literally just thrown in the ball and painted it, but they actually sculpted all these things on it. It looks very, very cool. It's very nice. I absolutely love this. This is awesome. And then, let me find it. Because it does blend in very well, which I do appreciate. Right there, you can see the little port for you to peg in. Like how I had it displayed here earlier. You just peg it in there, and you can have him kind of... Whoops. You can have him pose like he's like launching the attack, which is really, really cool. And it does peg in there pretty well. And you can, you know, pose that and have it like a higher shot or a lower shot or however you want it to have come towards camera. It's really cool. I like this. This is very cool. And then the last thing to talk about, accessories-wise, because I know this is kind of going on for a bit, but there's a lot to talk about with these guys, is we get the base with all these armatures, and there's one you can change them. They're all, you know, you can make these like really long. Some of these are very, you know, very okay. Maybe so maybe those ones aren't. Maybe they're, I don't know. It could just be. These are very tight, I will say that. They are very tight and secure, so do be careful if you do pick one of these up. A lot of these pieces are kind of, these ports are very tight, and you don't want to risk, obviously, like damaging anything. But you get the 3 arms, these two, this one right here is the tallest by a hair. You get this one, then you have the smaller one for more like displaying the Dark Magic Attack and things. And then you get the little clamp thingy here. The adapter for his circle behind him. And yeah, I like the size of this base too. Here, let me pop these out so you guys all can see. It's very simple, but it is very, I like that it's translucent so it doesn't, you know, look like an eyesore on your shelf or anything. And it is large because, I mean, look at it compared to him. It's really big, and which is nice to accommodate all the other accessories and things you have for him. So I do, in fact, appreciate the base. Okay, and then I do want to show off him holding the staff here. So let's do that. I'll bring the camera down a little bit. So all I essentially do, it's a standard figure art. Just pop the hand off. It's just a little kind of standard peg. And then we're going to pop that on. Make sure that's secure. And then you just come over to the staff. Like I said, it'll just disconnect right here. Pop it straight out. And then you can slide it into his hand. Connect it on the other end. And there you go. There he is with his staff. And this looks much more complete. That looks awesome. That looks very, very cool. Yeah, that's so cool. I love this. And again, those are those, like I was mentioning, those feet. That's like one of the few issues with this figure, is that the feet just do not give him enough, basically, area to stand. He just doesn't have, so you really need that base. So it is nice that they did include it, and they did come with so many different armatures for it, because like just trying to pose him like that, and I'm not confident he's going to stay up that. See? Yeah, he just immediately falls. So that is one issue. Definitely you are going to want to display him on the base. You definitely don't want to just try to have him on your shelf like this. Because even just a little added weight of his staff is making it trickier than it was before. And it was already tricky enough. So that is one negative I am going to have to give to the figure. But again, it's not necessarily like Bandai or the figure's fault. That's just how the character is designed. Alright, and now that we've taken a look at the accessories, we're going to go over the articulation on this guy. So starting off, the head here, it's a little bit restricted by this back piece, which again, that's just kind of how it's going to be with the way this character is designed and how his outfit is. It's something going into this figure. I knew he wasn't going to have like the craziest range of motion in the head, which is fine, but he does get still quite a good bit, because his neck is on like a double dumbbell joint, and he gets a lot of rotation. You can, move his head around, have him look both ways. You get a good bit of wiggle and all over. Even with that, he can't really look up that much. He does look down pretty far. Now, this is one design issue I do have with the figure, is that his hat here, it basically just pegs there, and it has a little spot, kind of, I don't know how well that's going to come through. But there's just this little peg you can see right at the bottom there that just pegs into the top of his head. And that's also how you basically remove the hair. And you can just plug it back in. And it just kind of pops on like that. And it's not the most sturdy thing in the world. It does kind of, it does kind of come loose a little bit, but I don't know how else they could have really done it. But it's not the greatest thing. When you move it off, like, it does just kind of, his hat just pop off, like, really. So that's kind of a bummer. Again, it doesn't ruin it, but it is, I do wish they would have maybe handled that a little bit better. The shoulder bits, they are articulated. You can move them up. But that's about as far as they're going to go. And then you can kind of close them together here. And because of that, again, he doesn't raise his... Oh. He raises his arms about that high, because you can kind of get them... Because there is a very involved butterfly joint. I don't know if you guys can see. You can see it right there. So because of that, he can like move his arms forward a lot. I mean, his arm is basically like beyond center there, which is really good range of motion. So because of that, and these shoulder bits are, kind of on a hinge back there, you can see. Because of that, you can kind of move it and maneuver it where you can lift it above his head, but that's about as much as you're going to get. And then you can kind of do the same and get it back about that far. So you can't really do a full 360 because of shoulder pads, but again, you're kind of expecting that with this design. I didn't go into this thinking, oh, he's going to be able to just wind the whole way around. I'm sure there's a way they could have, but it probably would have meant connecting. Like, I know how a lot of the Marvel Legends Wolverine figures, they'll connect it to the bicep, but as you can see, his bicep is so tiny that it probably wouldn't have been the most sturdy connection. So this is probably one of the easier ways to do it. His arms can extend. He has bicep swivel. Goes the whole way around. Whoa. Everything's going... Look at that. How is that actually? Ah, okay, so that's just the way the ball joint's done. This almost seems like a Rovoltech to me. That's very interesting. Okay. And you can work that joint around a lot to get a good range of motion, which is very nice. He does have double jointed elbows, and you can get them in very, very close. I like that. He does have the standard kind of, the pegs here, you can kind of forward, up and down, or if you rotate them around, you can kind of have him going side to side to hold his staff that way. He does have ab crunch, and he crunches back quite a bit. That's a very good ab crunch. And he crunches forward pretty well as well, because I believe there's one up here, because there's a joint up here, right at the break where his robe and his kind of like armor is, which is really clever how he did that. I like that. He can kind of rotate there, and then he can kind of rotate a little bit here. Can't do a full 360, which is a shame. Maybe he can't. And then, yeah, that's what I was talking about with the hat. It doesn't really want to stay on very well. I do wish they kind of would have done something better for that. I was just trying to pose him like that. The hat should be falling off like that. But, you know, it is what it is there. His bottom of his robe, there is a hinge here to help you with the leg articulation, which is nice. You can see there. He can kick forward. Actually, pretty far. He can kick back. About that far. That's about as far as you can get. He can do almost the full. He can do almost the full splits there. Looks pretty. It's pretty good. Does he have drop downs? I don't think. No, he doesn't have drop down hips. You can kind of see how it's in there, but he does have thigh swivel, double jointed knees. And I like how these little things are on there, on the actual joints, so they're like not in the way or anything, and they can move. Because if they were like attached to either point here, it'd probably be a bit more difficult to, and he could probably damage this even more. But he also can bend ankle down that far, up, not really a whole lot. He does have good ankle. Yeah, there we go. He has some good ankle tilt there, and you can kind of, you know, again, work with the ball joint to make it even more extreme, I guess you could say. And then he does have posable toes as well. So articulation overall is pretty good, especially for a character like this, or a figure like this, monster, whatever you want to call him. Because of how lanky he is and how his costume is designed, you're just kind of going into it, you're going to expect a little bit of restriction, especially on those arms and the head. But even with that, I do feel he gets a good range of motion, and I do like it. So, yeah, I'm very pleased with this articulation and this figure so far. So, yeah, I will be right back with final thoughts. But, yeah, to wrap things up for this video, this figure is awesome. I'm so happy I got it. This is like nostalgia, childhood stuff come to life. I absolutely love him. A few minor issues with kind of, you know, like the design of how he is translated into plastic isn't the easiest, so he has some balancing issues. And I'm not the biggest fan of how they did the hat connecting, but other than that, this figure is just absolutely awesome. I love the paint scheme. It's so cool. Easy, like 9.2 out of 10. Now, this did run me typical price for SH, like the major SH Figuarts for Mayfix. It was $94.99. I picked it up at Big Bad Toy Store, and I don't regret it. For what all you get, the quality of the plastic and the painting and the metallic painting and everything and the accessories, it's just absolutely worth it. So yeah, that's going to be it for me. I hope you guys like this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you are so inclined. And I will catch you in the next one. Peace, everybody.